I'm just going to record the rest of it so I can send it to you later. But over here, there's a management versus training. So basically that just helps you manage some situations. So like the window, if she's barking out the window a lot, you might want to get that sticky stuff that covers the windows, just so she's not practicing that behavior. Because if most of the time she's barking and lunging at things, and then we're working just a little bit on all the calming stuff, we're really not going to make much headway. And probably what's happening is you're just rewarding more reactivity, because if 90% of the time she's allowed to bark and lunge at things, and 10% of the time you're working on her, you're really not going to make much. You're not going to be very successful. So that little link there is management and training link. And so you can open that up later and read through it. I had this multiple dog household aggression one. That might be something you read and also send to Debbie. Because it might be interesting to her. It talks about like how triggers kind of stack and how like health can be an issue or this and that can be an issue. So it might be a good resource for her to have anyways, when she starts to see other problems occur with her little group of dogs. But I tried that link and it didn't work. So I'm going to send you that in an email later. So I'll do that. So the other thing that I want to, let me see if it's here. Oh, no, that's not it. I had it. Let's see what I did with it. Nope, that's not it either. Okay, I'll find it for you. But let's work on a couple other little things and then we'll go from there. There's a protocol that I follow for reactivity that works really well. Okay. And I will find that in a minute and download it for you. Actually, maybe I can switch you to looking at my computer and find it that way. I know there's a way to do that. Oh, share screen. There it is. Share. Oh, perfect. And you see it? Okay. All right. Let me see if I can find it though. We're not out of the woods yet.
When you say put the sticky stuff on the windows, do you just mean like the air insulator stuff kind of thing?
It is like you can get it at Lowe's. It's actually it's like a static and it looks like
just like cellophane
frosted. Yep. Yeah, it's just like a frosted look.
It's frosted.
Have you seen that? Yeah. And they make different designs, but the frosted works perfect.
Okay.
And so that would be a good one to use.
It's just to like deter her from jumping on the window.
Jumping and barking. Because a lot of times
the window or not look out the window.
Yeah, I wouldn't let her look out that window.
Okay.
If you can avoid it, because she's just sitting there practicing it. It doesn't mean that's going to last forever. Eventually you'll be able to take that away, but just to give yourself a little bit of breather and her not practice that behavior all the time. She's still going to be able to hear things. So she's still going to be able to hear things and possibly bark at something that she hears, but at least she's not sitting there watching things and then, reacting to them all the time.
Okay.
But this, hopefully, where did it go? Oh, there. So this protocol, and I'm going to try to copy this link and put it in our little chat in a minute, but let me just copy it for now. But this protocol is the one I use for reactivity.
Okay.
And I'll put it in the chat in a minute, but we can review it a little bit and then walk through a couple of the exercises that we like. But if you notice, step one is making sure that she's healthy and stress-free. And I know that's an ongoing battle for her because of her issues. But that is something that you always have to think of. And that's like our number one thing that you have to pay attention to. Okay. And then step two is creating a prevention plan. And that prevention plan is just like we talked about, like maybe covering the windows.
Okay.
Another great prevention plan would be maybe take her on a walk, but go to the same little area. Don't go too far on the walk, and really incorporate training in that walk.
Okay.
You also might want to find a place to walk that isn't so busy, which is an issue right now because everybody's out walking.
Well, my husband and I would just like to take a little break. We were so frustrated because the other day, we walk her,
right,
unless it's like blistering, absolutely cold, we're walking her, we can deal with 25, she can deal with 25, we're walking, but the other day it was so nice and there were just dogs everywhere. And it was like absolutely insane. I'm like, where were you guys in January when we were still out here walking our dog every day? Like, this is our area. Please remove yourself.
Yeah, some of our favorite parks I haven't even tempted to go to with him because I'm like, oh, that's a disaster, you know. I
Yeah.
do have some hidden parks though people
That's
don't
good.
know about. So.
Yeah, good. Keep those a secret.
Yes, exactly. So creating that prevention plan, which is a little bit hard right now because you'd like to get her for walks, but you might have to find some places. Some people like to go to cemeteries if they're allowed to have dogs there. Not all cemeteries will let you, but that's a usually pretty quiet place. Um, and then there are some parks that are kind of like hidden, that have hidden trails and stuff that you can possibly find. Or you
Okay.
can just work on walking up and down one area of your neighborhood that feels comfortable for her. Okay.
Okay.
So find a way that she's not reacting a ton.
Do
Okay.
you recommend walking her with treats to like keep
Yes.
her attention with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to reward a lot of check-ins. And what I mean by that is say you're walking and then she all of a sudden looks at you, tell her she's a good girl and mark that and treat. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Mhm.
really important to tell her that that's what you want.
Okay.
And then there'll be some exercises on down that we work through. Okay. A
Okay.
little bit today. And then step 3 is conditioned reinforcers, which is like your yes.
Okay.
Okay. Or good girl is conditioned usually because you've probably added food there.
Yeah.
So those are marker words that we use to mark good behavior, which you are used to. Okay, so those you're already used to those things.
Okay.
This step 4 is awesome because these are the things that we usually like to train to help the dogs with reactivity issues.
Okay.
Okay, so Emily, the one that did this, is she has a great YouTube station called Kiko Pup, and she has a lot of these things already on video. Okay,
Okay.
you can go through and look. The big one that I want you to pay attention to is this "Let's Go" cue
Okay.
down here. We'll work on this a little bit today, and then we'll work on some leash pressure today.
Okay.
I know that you already have good attention for training, so some of these things will be a little bit of a review for you, but that's
Okay.
okay. Okay, but these are the 2 we're going to pick today, and then there's one other exercise down below.
Okay.
So, and then on down, it just talks about setting things up to be successful,
Okay.
and then trying to separate those triggers. And
Okay.
finding the triggers are really important because it's going to help you. Okay. Like Argent's biggest trigger is dog staring at him, pisses him off. You know,
Yeah.
the thing is he's staring at them first, right?
Yeah.
He's like, are you staring at me?
Yeah.
But, but I know that's a really big trigger for him. So whenever I see a dog staring at him, we quickly try to get his attention back on me.
Yeah. It's so weird because she's like in between of like if a dog is barking at her, she's like, okay, fine, then I'm gonna bark at you.
Yep.
But if a dog is like not barking at her and not paying attention to her at
Yep.
all, then she's like, excuse me, why aren't you talking to me? You know? But like if they are like kind of both like,
Right.
okay, okay, we're just gonna keep going kind of thing, then they're fine. But it's like it's so much obviously I can't, you know, base her behavior on other dogs, but it's just so strange because it's like it's really hit or miss. It's not every single dog that we walk past, but like we took her to the metro parks probably like a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a night, it just happened to be a nice day, and I brought treats with us just to like kind of get her attention.
Good.
And the only time she was successful in I think we passed 4 dogs. The only time she was successful is when I got her to sit and stare at me.
Okay.
That was the only time. She would not just be constantly with me, you
Okay.
know, unless she was sitting.
Unless she was sitting.
Yeah.
So that tells you that you probably have a big history of sit being highly reinforced, sit and looking at you.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that you just need to get more behaviors that are that strong. Okay.
Okay.
And I tend to like behaviors that would help her leave the scene
Okay.
versus sit and look at you. Okay. So the
Okay.
let's go is going to help you. So you're going to train that one just as hard as you've trained sit and look at you, because
Okay.
it sounds like sit and look at you was so strong that it kind of overrode the reactivity. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So but at least you have that. I mean, that's awesome because not everybody has that. So at least you can use that.
Okay.
A really big thing to remember too is distance. Like you need to have some good distance between you and those stimulus to help her stay under threshold. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then it goes on to talk about real life training too, just in the regular world, because sometimes that's hard. And then right here is the exercise that I want you to start working on. This step 1 is really important. You know how you talked about like her sitting and looking at you? That's
Mhm.
kind of like college level.
Okay.
And a lot of times we start at college level before we actually have done preschool. So preschool would be she looks at a dog and immediately gets a good girl treat or a yes treat, whatever you're using.
Okay.
And you can let her look at that dog and keep yesing and treating for that. Okay.
Okay.
And then after a few of those, I'd walk on past, okay, or
Okay.
walk away. But let's start at step 1 because a lot of times the reason that you're not completely successful with this is you might have you may have never done step 1. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And maybe she needs step 1.
Okay.
Um, then over time it becomes step 2. So she looks at the dog and looks back at you and you mark that and treat.
Okay.
But let's go back to this one because this is usually what people have missed.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Eventually you will do step 3, which is she looks at the dog, looks back at you, you mark, you go away and then feed.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I would like to tell you that you do step 1 for a month and then you do step 2 and then you do step 3, but that's not how it works.
Okay.
You're going to have to pay attention to her body language.
Okay.
If she's highly kind of looks like she's ready to fall apart, you're going to be doing step 1 because
Okay.
you can't handle step 2 or step 3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if she's having a really good day, maybe you do step 3. She looks back at you, you mark it, you move the other way and reward.
Okay.
Okay. So these are you're gonna kind of bounce back and forth, I guess I should say. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Okay.
When we see dogs, do you suggest that we remain on the path that we're going and still like get her attention, or do you suggest that we turn around?
So there's a few different things. Let's play the let's go game in a minute.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you're gonna do that because she might just not be able to handle passing. Like,
Okay.
it's usually really hard to do this.
Yeah.
Past each other is usually really hard. It's not as hard if the dog is behind or in front. That seems to be easier for dogs to follow or
Mhm.
lead, but passing is like a nightmare a lot of times. So you might need to get yourself off the beaten path a little bit.
Okay.
You may even play something where you just scatter some treats on the ground and let her go find them. So you don't even have to worry about it. Just let her look for food while the dog is passing.
Okay.
Try to help her be successful. And the
Okay.
one thing I try to tell people too is like, don't try not to take the behavior personally because sometimes we see our dog react and then we feel like it's a reflection on us. Okay.
Yeah.
But what you have to remember is your dog is falling apart. Like there's no time to worry about that. Like right now, I need to help my dog because emotionally, she's not doing well.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. So let's play around a little bit with a let's go game, but you're going to need a leash. And I totally forgot to tell you to get a leash.
Oh, that's okay. I'll run upstairs really quick.
All right. Let me see if I can put this link in here. Um, where did I even put that? Okay.
So she's
Okay.
leashed up.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so you're going to start with this because this tends to be an issue for us. When we get nervous, we tighten up on the leash.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is just pull gently on her leash and then give her a treat right away.
Okay.
Just pull and then treat. And then try that a few more times. Pull and then treat. Good. And then if you can, put your treats behind your back. So the treats aren't a distraction for the thing you're trying to teach. If
Okay.
that makes sense. Okay. So just put a few behind your back so she doesn't really pay attention. And then you're going to pull and then treat. Do that 2 more times for me. Good. Okay. And then I'm actually going to grab a leash for Argent too, because I'm going to show you something else.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see us okay, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the other thing that I want you to pay attention to, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, good. Is, so say if there's something that Arjun's looking out at the distance at, another dog, I want you to practice a hand over hand leash thing. So if I'm back here and he's ready to bark and react, I'm gonna do what we call walking our hands down the leash to get to him, and then I'm gonna help him with some treats, okay? So if he's out there barking, I'm gonna get down there and help feed him,
Okay.
What I don't really wanna do is yank on him. I wanna try to help him through it, so I'm gonna get to him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's something that you can practice too. Wait. I know, here, go get those.
We try to do that when we walk and she is like
falling apart.
Well, just like being defiant and like, I'm gonna sniff this spot for as long as I want and you're not gonna stop me.
Yeah.
So that was actually something I think Paige taught us, that to walk
Hand over hand.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah.
And you can start to do like if she loves to sniff and smell, start to use that to your advantage a little bit. Like maybe ask her to look at you and then tell her to go sniff. I have to do that a lot for Argent because he's had so many health issues, and she's probably like this too. He was not eating well. So
she wasn't either.
Yeah, so I had to use his environment for training a lot. Like from the age of 1 to 2, I was basically using the environment. So he loved to pee on stuff. So I was like, well, let's see if you can do 2 things for me. Now you can go pee.
Okay.
So for dogs that get have a little health issues, sometimes using environmental stuff is really helpful if you can't always use food.
Okay.
So work on those. If you look over here, I did put this link in here for Emily's emotional protocol. So grab that. And then I'm going to send you the multiple dog resource so you have that. And then I'm also going to send you the Let's Go, but we're going to practice that and then we'll stop with that today.
Sounds good.
So the Let's Go is pretty simple. It's just that. Okay. You're going to say the cue, you're going to move, and then treat her when she gets to you. Okay. So we'll have you practice that a little bit. So, and on the Let's Go too, don't worry if the leash gets tight. You're just going to say, let's go, and you turn and go. And when she comes with you, treat her. Okay. I'm okay if the leash gets tight. It's going to help her learn that she goes with you, and then eventually it won't necessarily get tight. Okay. Plus it'll help her learn that leash tension doesn't mean something bad is about to happen. Okay. So let's try that one a couple of times.
Should I like toss a treat away from me?
Not a bad idea. Okay. You could kind of let her go chase one, let her eat it, and then say, let's go. Yep.
Okay. Let's go.
Good.
Let's go. I'm so mad. I can't find my little like side pouch. I don't know where it is. I have to keep coming back to this.
I put a handful of mine too.
Let's go.
Good.
Let's go.
Nice.
Oh, that was good. She like looked to me right away.
Like when she heard that word, right? And that's what you want. I mean, you want that word. to mean, or that phrase to mean, we just move the opposite way.
Okay. Yeah.
So you don't have to pass dogs right now. If that's too hard, just go the other way.
Okay.
So practice that management.
Okay.
Um, what I'll do is I'll send you a little email too, and I'm gonna try to, I guess I can download this on YouTube, and then that way you guys can go back and review it if you need to. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll try to do that, and then I'll send you an email just to follow up with some of the stuff we talked about. Does
Okay,
that sound
perfect.
good?
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds
This
great.
was fun.
Yeah, I liked it. Thank you so much. It's very
You're
informative.
welcome.
About like how long do you think that we should like every day on our walks we should be
Good
doing this, and should it
question.
be the whole walk, and like how much, I guess I don't want her to get into a situation where she finds the training frustrating.
Right.
Um
Agree.
so I guess I just don't know how often, and I know being consistent
So,
is key.
yeah. So some of this stuff, just like you practiced here in the basement, practice at home. Okay.
Uh,
Like let's go cue. You can practice that at home. So play around with those at home. On your walk, I would make sure that you take food, but I don't think you have to. I don't work with Argent the whole walk. But what I do
okay.
is like say when he naturally checks in with me, I reward those.
Okay.
Or if say he's naturally walking nice by my side, I reward those.
Okay.
Then about 10 times on the walk, I do a let's go. Okay,
Okay.
just so I keep that strong. And then sometimes with him, I still do the leash tension because that tends to be a big trigger for him. If I get nervous and tighten up on the leash,
Okay.
he starts to get suspicious
Yeah.
of where's the dog kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So play with that. And then you can always, every time she sees something new in the environment, and by the way, it doesn't always have to be dogs. So
Yeah.
say if she looks at people and she's not a big reactor to people, you could use that to your advantage. Like she looked at, good girl, treat, and then move on. So she
Okay.
to get the idea without getting too worked up.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, she is like could care less about people.
Yeah.
Like
So
we could
mark those.
walk on the same sidewalk and she would probably like turn and try to like sniff a little bit, but like she could care less otherwise. It's so crazy to me how reactive she is. And when it comes to like birds and bunnies and stuff, is that another thing where we could just be like, let's go? Just
All of those.
go. Okay.
Yeah, she sounds so much like Argent because Argent loves the people and just is like, oh, you're cool, but I can walk on past. But
Yeah.
the dogs are like a different story. And he likes dogs too. He's like her too. I mean, he likes dogs. He just overreacts to dogs. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I'll send you those things.
Okay.
And then if I've forgotten anything, I'll send you something else. And then we can
Okay.
always do this again if you want to.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds
Maybe we can go
great.
outside or something. Or you
Okay.
go outside.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll
you so much.
talk
We'll
to
see
you
you.
soon.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye bye.
What a good little dolly you are. Huh.